Josh, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Brock.
Guys, very excited to have Josh with us today because a lot of times what comes into it when we're dealing with real estate, there's always issues going on. And ran into Josh the other day. We do a lot of business with him, and he's right here in the Cornelius area and has several other offices as well.
Yep. Also all around Charlotte. Yep.
Okay.
So.
And so one of the key things that we're always facing is trying to educate real estate agents that are out there. And I said, Josh, what do you think are some things that we can share with some of these agents to help them out? And you came up with seller info sheet.
Correct. That's definitely one of them, yes.
And knowing that on our side, it's a pain in the butt because every attorney is different to some aspect of it. But the main thing is there's the nuts and bolts of what you want from us. But it's a challenge to be able to try to get the correct information to you.
Right.
And so what are some of the things that you could share with real estate agents that could help us basically help you so we're not in that dilemma?
Right. So great. Yeah, that's a great question. And yes, real estate can be one of the greatest things, buyers buying a home, sellers selling a home, people getting paid. It's an exciting time. Real estate can also have its frustrations, right? Caused by the attorneys possibly, or caused by buyers, sellers, agents. There's so many moving parts that the more we can control, the more we can minimize those stressors, the better we can do. So one of those specific things that we've seen is the biggest delay that we can run into at times is the seller info sheet getting back on time. Mm-hmm. That is something, and I understand there's a disconnect sometimes with some of you folks out there who might be selling your home for the first time in decades. What that means is you may have your own attorney, but us as the buyer's attorney, let's say, is still going to need to send out a form to y'all to have you fill it out. And included in that will be obviously name, address, all the typical stuff that's going on a contract. However, the biggest issues are figuring out homeowners associations and payoffs. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we run into sometimes is folks just do not fill them out because they think they have their own attorney, and that's fine. But the buyer's attorney is responsible for getting those HOAs and payoffs. And so in essence, the seller will still need to provide pertinent information, including sometimes, actually almost all times, social security number, which folks sometimes are a little concerned about giving. But you can call us and give us that as well. But that's something that needs to happen.
Because a lot of times what I tell my clients is, listen, I'm going to have this information as a seller. They have to, you got to pay your loan off.
Right.
So we need this information. Right. So I always advise real estate agents to make sure that all you got to do is call them and just say, hey, you don't feel comfortable putting your social security number down? Don't wait. And don't let the seller just say, well, I didn't do it because I didn't want to fill out the social security number. Right. Well, that causes headaches.
Correct. Because the delay on that will be, and the other part of it is, a first mortgage is usually not tough to get a payoff on, but an equity line is usually the biggest issue. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sometimes an equity line may take, from a small bank, may take 10 days for us to get that payoff from that company. So we need to get those info sheets back at least 10 days prior. Yeah. Obviously, the earlier the better. And then along that line, of all the things in the transaction you can DocuSign, the equity line payoff usually needs a wet signature, and that usually is a disconnect for many clients because they DocuSigned everything throughout, and they want to know why some knucklehead attorney wants this wet signature, right? I promise that's not something we're trying to do, but it is something that is required typically.
And as well as one of the things that can help them out is if you actually, you should know that as a real estate agent, going in before you're having that seller net sheet going through it, you should be going, how many mortgages do you have?
Right.
Like how many things? So that way we can call you and say, hey, they got two mortgages.
And there's a great segue to that too of ask your clients specifically, do you know of an equity line that you may have opened? They may have a zero balance, but we still will need to close that out. That happens more times than not. We get an info sheet back, says I have one mortgage. We do title work, we see two out there. And the seller only owes on one. We understand that. But the nature of an equity line is it's still there, and we will have to close it at closing. So it sometimes becomes tough when we call the seller prior to closing saying, hey, we need this equity line. If I closed that 5 years ago, they paid it off 5 years ago. But it was never technically closed with the bank.
I hear that many
That's
times.
always a good thing to try to get in front of. So when you guys are in listening appointments, maybe that's something to bring up. Hey, seller, right?
Have you ever
had an equity line?
done an equity line at some point? Yep. Then that way, because they think it's closed because they have a zero balance, but really it's not closed, and you still got to go through whether it's $1 or 100,000. You got to go through the same process.
It seems like a really silly process, but it could certainly delay closings.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And that seller info sheet, also with the HOAs, I know you touched base on it, but that's where the biggest headache is where even if they have cash or they don't owe anything at all, the HOAs are still an issue.
Yeah, because that can become, there's a few things. you paid your HOAs for the year. Let's say it's one time a year, even monthly or semi-annual. Doesn't matter. You may be paid. They will still have typically a transfer fee from a management company, and we need to be able to get that because that also can become a lien on the property. So the issue there is a lot of HOAs are done by management companies. They're managed by management companies, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's Cliff, the accountant for 30 years, who's a retiree, right?
Yeah.
And Cliff's going on vacation for 3 weeks. So that's something that we want to get in front of the earlier the better.
Okay. And just for food for thought, seller info sheets, how early in advance in a perfect world would it look for you to be able to have those?
Typically a couple days after you send them out. I know firms are different, but in our firm, as soon as the contract comes into us, we submit them immediately out by the next day. Buyer info sheet to the buyer, seller info sheet to the sellers. If they could get that back just like they've gotten everything else back to you guys in X amount of time, hopefully in a quick turnaround, the quicker the better.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. Well, I definitely appreciate that. If you guys need anything about seller info sheets or any other things, who can they contact at your office?
You can basically contact our main line, 704-765-2511, or you can send an email to many folks, myself, Josh, at NIPLaw, JOSH@KNIPPLAW.com.
Perfect, man. Guys, it's so important to be able to have this education and understanding that when you're getting into that transaction is so valuable, because when you're already knee deep into it,
Right.
it's sometimes too late to cause or to save something, and you got extra headaches that your client doesn't need. So,
That's
Josh,
right.
I definitely appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys.